Nolan Grayson of the planet Viltrum, a very powerful, ruthless powerhouse, the LeBron James of his verse, being pretty much the man to bring the heat and be goated in execution. From a ruthless race of conquerors, he was changed from being that to being basically a new level of powerhouse, but on the side of a reformed good, and basically becoming an anti-hero and fully reverting from what he was to be something better than what he comes from. In this case, being heir to the legacy of Viltrum. But in this battle, even though I've already talked about this guy before, like Omni Man versus Metro Man, shameless plug, which I would like to possibly redo again, as that video isn't actually as good as I would like it to be. So I'll probably be redoing that video, as I have talked about Metro Man scaling and other things like that when I talked about why Metro Man versus Homelander isn't close. But in this video, as you see by the title, he is facing SCP-096, aka Shy Guy, one of the most interesting and popular characters of the SCP verse, aka Creepypasta community / verse, and it's a very interesting, battle to me, as I've seen an animation, aka also see some discussions and debate about how that fight would go, as they're both characters that are kind of underrated in their greater peak stands of power, but in different accounts have been very equal and comparable to each other in multiple accolades. So in this video, I plan to go ahead and break both of them down, talk about who would win, how would they do things, and simply put, explain in all the greatest ways why and how both characters stand as the most peakest levels of hands like never seen before. Omni Man on this channel I've talked about before. Obviously, in the iconic video of Omni Man vs Metro Man, I feel like I downplayed not just Metro Man, but also a little bit of Omni Man. I feel like I gave him a better credit of, service, but I all around feel like I kind of downplayed and disrespected him. So hopefully in this video, I can give you guys a better execution of that. Maybe eventually remake that video, do overarching better case matter representation when it comes down to this shit, and just all around be cool. Besides all that, like I talked about in the intro, Nolan Grayson is a rightful heir to the throne of Viltrum when it comes down to his grandfather being the original Grand Regent to Tentacle Emperor of the Viltrum Empire. As a Grand Regent now is Grand Regent Thrag, who is the most strongest Viltrumite, aka the G1 Viltrumite, the solidification of hands, the guy who government told you not to worry about, the Genghis Khan of the universe, is pretty much say the least. But Nolan Grayson, aka Omni Man, was once the strongest hero of Earth, is the father of Mark Grayson, aka Invincible, is the father-in-law of Eve, aka Adam Eve, and same time is the grandfather of Marky, I forgot her name, father of also Oliver Grayson, aka they're in credit of him being Oliver Thraxon something, what is being said, or Flaxon, if that's the name. Of course it's Flaxon, not Thraxon. Omni Man ran through the Thraxons. But besides that, Omni Man would be scaling in speed at a reasonably massively faster than light as he traveled from the case of the galaxy or his solar system where Earth is to another that was like over hundreds of thousands of miles and light years away, and this will be putting them reasonably massively faster than light, being able to be a little bit beyond the case of the gravitational control of a black hole, being able to blitz faster than the speed of light across the entire planet and pretty much eviscerated from the inside out. He's ridiculously fast, powerful, and built different. Omni Man showcases multiple times of his speed to be relative to people of that reasonable caliber, like the case of Red Rush, hypothetically, especially if we're talking about from the comics, of him obviously, speed blitzing, embodying everybody before they could even possibly see him, and just all around being way faster than what they could possibly understand and measure. With that being said, again, we'll make him probably between the mix of being millions to trillions at the most consistent strong sense of massively faster than light, being ridiculously beyond compare of most people, showcasing this how he's able to boom, blitz, and move like a freaking speedster with flying through space, and like with Mark and other case of matter people being able to go ahead and be blitzing way higher in speed than other people. He's able to scale to Thrag to a decent extent, even though still getting bodied by him and obviously got fodderized by him like his son, but can decently be able to perceive and be relative to him, and he's able to go ahead and catch up and outspeed, what is his name, fucking the gun guy that can shoot and blast open stars, Speed Racer, whatever his name is, who can fly at speeds beyond the speed of light, said in the case of his bio and different talks by the creator, and in the case of the comic books, is said to have one of the most fastest ways of movement and trajectory speed like no other. And someone like Omni Man, who's, you know, a very skilled and experienced warrior and soldier, has, you know, reasonable caliber to say that, you know, he's seen speeds similar and or has outdone them, as obviously he's conquered multiple worlds and places, putting his experience and skill at the ridiculous record. And his skill, you know, is pretty much him being, you know, ridiculously way more physically stronger than others, but packing the heat, pressure, and at the same time big body, boulder hammering, bodying, pillar of might level case of caliber. My man pretty much is an expert at lethal injection of hands, to say the least, and combined with his speed, super strength, arguable super speed, would make him a very intimidating and all around colossal foe to face in full, you know what I'm saying, right? And same time, with his speed being talked about, with this being said, there's a thing that a lot of people don't understand when it comes down to his speed and how he does it in the matter for travel speed in comparison to his thing. But just make this clear. It is said by Viltrumites, shown multiple times in the comics and in the show, that their travel speed is similar to the case of the reaction speed. Alright, and there's an argument that he couldn't do everything that he could do to the best of his ability if he actually couldn't. Granted, he might need to go about accelerating a little bit more, but again, with all that being said, makes him a very intimidating and colossal foe to go about facing. When it comes down to AP, he would be scaling for multiple records of him being able to turn a meteor the size of Texas, same time banging out with people that have been able to threaten the planet's surface, the moon, being able to clash with Alan the Alien and send him back basically flailing, who was able to go ahead and crater in the moon, with this being said, right, when he was fighting Invincible. He's also able to run through the entire planet of Thraxa and has scaled to multiple people of similar element. There's also the record that, in the words of Thrag, a few Viltrumites could rip open the planet of Earth, right, if they wanted to, if they really fully tried, which would then scale him from being low-end multi-continental to moon level to reasonably moon level to small planetary, and the highest you could possibly try to wage for him could be a credit of, you know, large planetary, but that's a big wank because he doesn't scale to Thrag on a normal sense level, and anytime he's ever been able to bang out with Thrag or even arguably defeat him has context, him being injured or different sense of tie of different things. But taking in his pre-near death, spoilers hypothetically I guess for anybody, but I don't know why you'd be on this video if you didn't want to get spoiled about what happens with Omni Man, right, in the comics, but he would be reasonably this level, right? And so yeah, that's Omni Man in a nutshell, with this being said. But time to go ahead and talk about Shy Guy SCP-096, one of the most invigorating characters when it comes down to killer instinct, death, and most importantly, creepiness. I just want to say thank you to Honest Place and Goji Chronic, one of them being a big inspiration for me to go ahead and get a refresher on some different scaling, also help with some scaling scans and different things like that. Not like I know him, but just from one of his videos. I just want to say thank you for being a dope content creator and being an inspiration. Really appreciate your videos, but Honest Place helped me to get a better case of like SCP scaling, and especially this SCP that I'm talking about, SCP-096 or the Shy Guy, for a better overarching, you know, understanding. So I just want to go ahead and say shout out to both of them, both bearing people, and, you know, again, appreciate the Honest Place when it comes to this SCP scaling chain and different things like that. But the Shy Guy, an unknown creature that came out of nowhere, being one of the most uncanny, crazy, dummy, wild powerhouses of individuals, terrorizing possibly the streets, and being just pretty much like how he is basically built like, and arguably inspiration, Wendigo of the night, with his whole gimmick being the fact that if you look at him, you will instantly be pursued and killed and basically made breakfast for him. With this being said, Shy Guy stands at a alarming, I think, 7 feet plus tall. It is a very lengthy, dummy, built different case of behemoth and killer. What is being said, that stands as one of the most strongest assassins of one overpowered and same time strong elite killers of the SCP Foundation. As the Shy Guy, like SCP-682, who he's actually had an encounter with, which I'll get more into, is dang near unkillable. Nothing they do can kill him. And so they basically decided to test out multiple ways to go and kill him and or keep him contained, as they are prone to do. As obviously with the SCP Foundation, secure, contain, and protect, they could not actually go about killing him. And this all lies from the fact that whatever he's made out of or wherever he came from, he seems to be a creature that has no way to be killed by any weapon on the planet, which has been stated by multiple different doctors and scientists involving the scaling. Akin to Homelander, there is no weapon on the planet that can phase him and or hurt him, making him be pretty much upscaling from any possible weapon or casualty to be had on the planet, making him SCP-096, aka the Shy Guy, possibly scale within the multi-city level possible qualm of scaling right off from there. Shy Guy as well, when it comes to the possible origin, can obviously with his being be supernatural or come from a whole nother planet, as he has a capability to run at speeds never seen before, rip humans to shred, has multiple wall level to small building plus level counts of scaling, with being able to take multiple forms of firearms and destructive capacity weapons, able to run through machine gun fire, rip humans apart limb from limb, and in the words of arms places, some of these different scans and scaling would show you just how drastically built different he is in comparison to others when it comes down to his all-around capabilities of killer intent. He's a walking behemoth, again is able to run through multiple forms of fires and things like that, and has been able to catch up to people when they're the least expected to be catched up to, especially because his whole thing is that if anybody, I repeat, anybody looks at his face, it doesn't matter how many there are, death is arguably imminent to come to you, as you could look at his face through a past picture and you would see that this motherfucker is coming at your ass from like 1,000 miles away, looking for booty like shit, like a booty warrior, willing to kill you regardless of how far you are. He's been able to kill people across miles and miles, states, countries, continents, it's said, and he has a big effect on just being a terror like no other, and he's always able to go ahead and escape SCP containment breach activity, especially depending on how you perceive the canonicity of the SCP game. If you see his face, he is constantly chasing you, and the only thing on his mind is killing you because of the fact that you saw his face, which is why he's called the Shy Guy. As within his face, if I had to theorize, the fact that because of him having an opposite representation glands and being a cursed Wendigo-like figure, any human eye or creature that looks at him is just presumed to be dead just like that. So yeah, that's pretty much when it comes down to him as a creature and or scale. But time to talk about his actual greater proficiency scaling, as since he cannot be affected by anything on this planet and tried everything to go and kill him, they went to things that would be the most wild lengths to kill somebody, but for him SCP-096 is really not. They decided to shoot this motherfucker into outer space and into the sun. He lay dormant in the sun in a pod, it's said. And he, right, as being, unkillable by our record, is not dead, they think. But at the same time, they had to test it. Test truly if SCP-096 is truly dead. They had somebody look at a picture of him from like a selfie that's taken of him with his face from unknown eyes, as you can look at him through a phone or something akin to that I'm taking it and not die, because I don't think every person that takes a picture of his face is just dead. There's also the record of reflector glands that reflect his face and not actually with you looking at it from that perspective. Okay, that therefore gains the reasonable effect of his attention, and they say that the sun where he was shot into keeps coming closer to the earth every day, presumably with mixed canon giving mixed addressment that SCP-096 can survive the whole effective heat of the sun, giving him reasonable multi-continental scale to considerably planetary. And that is the most consistent thing as here we get into some more wild stuff. Time to talk about his interaction with SCP-682. As he was able to set the bite force of the unkillable lizard, what is being said, and this creature, SCP-682, is considered to be one of, if not the strongest SCP to live, right? But the thing is, people have to understand the context of this fight, and I'll explain this on a deeper merit when it comes down to the case of Omni Man's hypothetical higher scaling to also be talked about. That SCP-682 is not affected by him or anyone else, and that goes with the case of SCP-173. As anything be able to harm SCP-682 is pretty much a one-off thing that can never be in the same scale to hurt him or really put real effect to him, as he is beyond the comprehension of any person to possibly stand to him, as he simply put is just way stronger than them beyond compare. SCP-173 has tried to crack this man SCP-682's neck back to back, and it has not worked. SCP-096 has tried to kill SCP-682, and that obviously doesn't work, as he is the unkillable lizard, always regens, and simply put is way too powerful to actually be stopped by him beyond compare. And so, simply put, when it comes down to the case of him actually being hurt or not, he just simply cannot actually bring enough force and or pack of difference to actually lay him down in this comparison. As simply put, this man, SCP-096, is really just tickling SCP-682, and anything SCP-682 does to him does not hurt him, because hypothetically he cannot be killed and or hurt by general phenomenal means. And depending on the case of SCP-682 and what he has to adapt and or regen to, especially because you have to understand that SCP and our creepypastas is stories created by multiple people and authors, are very free licensed characters, meaning that people can kind of write whatever they want with them and make them be on different type of unimaginable scales of power and or capabilities, which therefore gives the reasonable prone credibility of just being this bogus scale and power and capabilities. Like, there's not even actually consistency to be talked about at all when it comes down to this. So because you have to understand that this was even said by on his playlist, right? Let you get go check them out. Where, like, for one instance, SCP-682 can be like the lowest end of like a fucking unkillable crocodile. The next is stacking up the shit that's just like beyond this comprehension. But at least to, you know, give SCP-682 his flowers, at least that shit that he stands to has mixed portfolio of actual concrete substance matter for, you know, him to stand to and or actually be able to hold against, right? Like, I don't know, him being able to take a blow from SCP-1, aka SCP-100, or however the fuck his name is, SCP-001, aka the Gatekeeper, who obviously, you know, has lasers implanted into his blades, right, where he's over here splitting, sabering motherfuckers like Virgil, and is able to split through a person's being and hurt them on a greater level, right? And that right there would give reasonable capability, right? And at the same time, you know, capabilities of possible, you know, durability on his shit, right? Because again, he's scaling to somebody that should scale similar to him. And also the Gatekeeper is said to be one of, as well, the strongest SCPs, has like some solar system scaling, shit like that. SCP-096 would not scale to that consistently, so because the concept of their fight was more testing what they could do to each other. And it's arguably like a unintentional spar. And SCP-682 ain't dead, and 096 got knocked the fuck out, I think, by him, or he was able to, you know, no longer have to deal with SCP-682 because he supposedly either for the first time stopped trying to kill him because it didn't work, because he just mildly flails and tries to, you know, split and saber fucking whole hyena kill a person with no strategy. So yeah, anybody who might think he scales SCP-682, SCP-1, or anyone else is really more bullshit whoppy-doo scaling, because then at that point the we can stretch into them being like beyond different platonic concepts and dimensionality, this and this and this. So yeah, he just wouldn't scale to that, right? Because then at that point, depending on how you perceive, you know, the, oh, I can cut stars, you know, I'm able to span to this level of fighting and this, that could put him from like dwarf star, we get to solar system, we get to like multiversal. Like it's kind of bogus. So again, I'm trying to be the most consistent without giving myself a headache. This also goes with speed. The thing is, with speed, consistently at low M, he would be a bullet timer or at least a bullet disregarder, because obviously nothing can phase him. With him being able to run through bullets and catch up to people that are with vehicles that can scale to the same amount of time that a bullet would need to go, aka supersonic plus. He would also be scaling reasonably to the case of, hypersonic to maybe even massively hypersonic, depending on how you perceive these skills to other things. You can maybe even say that if lasers or a holding back SCP-682 that you might be able to scale to, that maybe you could give mixed credibility on being relativistic, but he has no real strong scaling unless you really think he scales to these people that should put him on those levels, right? So, simply put, SCP-096, aka Shy Guy, would be scaling consistently in AP, multi-continental to planetary maybe, and or massively hypersonic to about sub-relativistic if you try to go ahead and stretch it. When it comes down to his hacks, again, like basically nothing can hurt him. He has a hide unpenetrable. He has long ass arms and capabilities to hurt, kill, rip, devour, mutilate, and rip through people. He's ridiculously fast. He arguably has super speed to a kin, and he's just a very tough and built different being that can do things like no other. You know what I'm saying? But isn't obvious? This is a very mixed fight. I simply put, think there's a lot more credibility in someone like Omni Man being more or less small planetary and being consistent on those ends than being whatever possible planetary mixed essence that you want to say that SCP-096 is. This isn't to disregard the fact that he hypothetically is moving the sun, but the thing is that even though no Viltrumite could survive in the sun for full long, Viltrumites have the capability to take those blows, but because of Omni-Man's case of, surviving the, pretty much following explosion to basically aftermath of a big-ass planet that is mixed credible to be bigger than Earth's explosion, coupled with the fact that he can fool, like, the whole essence of being a planetary person more concretely, because of the fact that obviously by the statement of Grand Regent Thrag, tied with the fact that low fodder soldiers of Viltrumites tag him and hurt him, and he's able to kill them and or take blows from them, be tortured by them, and be perfectly fine. And that was shown like in the recent episode of Invincible season 3 episode 4, with the case of obviously him defeating some low form Viltrumites that cannot stand to him. In the case of Alan or whoever else, that right there shows the proof that he, Omni Man, is a built different case of nigga, right? Big full tally in this, the big fact that Omni Man, who has more credibility and scaling and that stuff, and has no pullback possible credit of like that capability when it comes to bigger high ends. Because the thing is, with Shy Guy's comparison scaling of moving the sun, it's a very high end thing, but it's not as high as these different calcs and measurements are, because he's only doing it for the hypothetical that he has unknown capabilities of durability and or attack potency that you can't really gauge, and just surviving and half moving the sun isn't the same as actually taking a full gourmet blow of that actual energy and at the same time explosion effect. Basically what I'm trying to say is that Shy Guy can be similar in AP, but Omni Man is more consistently going to dig deep into like the punish aspects of that. He's actually going to deal that out more versatilely and more consistently than whatever Shy Guy could try to possibly maybe muster, because he simply just has the better credibility and ratio effect of that. So yeah, that's that first part. But before anyone thinks that I could possibly try to get Omni Man to like, I don't know, large planetary like I already mentioned, or dwarf star level, you'll be wrong, because of the context shown and credited by Goji to give better illustration for that. Especially because they could have possibly died and they can't actually survive a point blank explosion of a planet, but possibly the aftermath explosion is a mixed bar thing, as pretty much in this case they got lucky to spear through the planet like a bullet after the planet getting scissor speared through by a gun by Gun Racer, who has been shown in Invincible to actually blow up stars, aka dwarf stars in Pacific. But his stuff is a concentrated beam. If they did not follow hydraulically with that beam, they would have died. Meaning that they can't scale to that, and Viltrum is not that much bigger that it scales to those same things. But because what he, Gun Racer, whatever the fuck his name is, Speed Racer, whatever his name is able to destroy is not the same as actually what he's destroying. Because that's an individual thing. Because he didn't destroy the planet by itself. He opened up the planet to be pushed through to do that, because Viltrum is so big in the fact that it's a planet, and them running at massively faster than light speeds into the planet is arguably suicide, just going head first. They all had to go in formation and spear through it, and it took 3 of the most powerful people. And so this would give Omni Man, like all the rest of them that arguably scaled to him, mixed caliber of also Mark and Thaddeus, basically 1/3 of the weight in destroying the planet. Meaning that he simply put is just not on the same strength stand, because he has no true credible stance in being that strong, because nothing shows that. Him being small planetary is from multiple different implications of that stand, but wouldn't really actually be strong on that. So, in conclusion, with AP comparison, I see Omni Man being way more strong in that regard. He obviously has the speed difference, being massively faster than light. I see multiple ways how you could possibly end this, but it's a mixed interpretation thing. I could give you bare minimum that they're kind of contingent in the matter of overall possible stalemate, aka crossing blows. But because Omni Man's so much more faster, he could bing this man SCP-096, piece him up, bang out and out, you know what I'm saying, and basically Weave Nation certify him multiple times. And only if Shy Guy gets lucky could he maybe decapitate or split him. I see Omni Man being able to hypothetically knock him out if he gets a good hit, or he could try throwing him into the vacuum of space. And obviously SCP-096 cannot breathe in space or survive the vacuum of space. For what we know, he got shot into the sun, which obviously is heat and big thing, but arguably that's basically akin to getting shot into the core of Earth or any other planet with a hotter density in comparison. So, if anything, that would be a form of battlefield removal, which would then discredit him and or discard every capability of possible standing in the fight, and it would just take him out. He could also throw him into the sun, which obviously wouldn't kill him because obviously his feet, aka statement, but that would still be technical battlefield removal. And depending on where we're at with Omni Man, he doesn't live on Earth or whatever this will take place. So there you go. So as I just see Omni Man pulling some, throw him into space, or pretty much just put him out of possible space of where the fight is, and then pretty much discard this nigga as just a random inconvenience, pretty much. And yeah, that's how I see the fight going. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I know this video was a little bit of the same long life as others, but this video had a lot of stuff we're going to talk about, with some misconceptions about the case of Invincible scaling, misconceptions about other stuff, and at the same time, some things that kind of need to go and be talked about in a greater deal. Again, I want to say thank you to the case of, Honor's Place. Say thank you to Goji Chronic. Say thank you to Chuck. Say thank you to a bunch of other people, you know what I'm saying, possibly along the way, if I remember, just for, helping with a little bit of some better understanding and scaling and credibility about not just SCP, but Invincible and other credited shit. With that being said, and I mainly mean Chuck and Honor's Place for that, and obviously Goji Chronic for the Invincible shit. Hope you guys will enjoy. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, my army. Love y'all.